Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Starcraft for All, My Base Fusion Zerg Core. Chapter 61. Civilization must develop, science and technology must advance, and we must not fall behind. Zhou Quan grabs it with both hands, and both hands must be strong. Area 7 and Division 3 are still managed by the patrollers in a civilized manner. As long as I develop with peace of mind, I don't want to enter the site of third-level civilization for the time being. Otherwise, it is conceivable that even if you take the place of the Guardian civilization, you will still be suppressed by the third-level civilization in the end. No level 3 civilization is willing to see a new powerful civilization born within its own sphere of influence. If there is any sign of this, it will definitely be strangled to death. 100 days is a short period of time, just enough for the Zon-class warships to rush back to Aquamarine from the home of the Guardian civilization. But these 100 days are enough to take a big step forward in scientific research. Degenerate materials with a thickness of 5 mm were first successful and mass production began. There is also a huge difference between degeneracy and degeneracy. Even if the thickness is the same, there is a huge difference. According to various data analyses, if we take the previous degenerate material and the degenerate material of the Aoan civilization, they are both 3 mm and the difference in strength is about 8 times. The key is that the density is too different, and the density causes the difference in strength. Nowadays, the density of new degenerate materials has been greatly enhanced, and various performance indicators have been greatly improved. Although it is still not as good as Aoan civilization, at the same thickness, the difference is only about 2 times. Compared with the previous 787, it has been greatly improved. Scientific research has always been interconnected, and the success of materials science will also give other disciplines a boost. It was only more than 10 days after the breakthrough in degenerate materials. New nuclear fusion devices were also developed. It's no longer microscopically controllable nuclear fusion. With new degenerate materials as containers, the problem of energy constraints has been greatly improved. The scale of the reaction device has been greatly increased. Similarly, the level of energy burst out has also been greatly improved. Originally a microscopic controllable nuclear fusion device, the energy output per second was 10,000 points. Now the volume has been expanded by 10 times, but thanks to the help of the latest degenerate materials, the number of nuclear combustions inside has increased by 20 times. The temperature erupted during the reaction is as high as 30 million degrees, and it is a continuously high temperature. The previous 3 mm degenerate material can withstand it in a short time, but will soften and eventually collapse over time. But not anymore. After a long test run, the container made of a new degenerate material with a thickness of 5 mm is very stable. All aspects of the performance are maintained at a very good level without any problems. In this way, the energy burst out is also increased by 20 times, and the sustainability is also greatly enhanced. Now a controllable nuclear fusion device can output 200,000 energy per second. The number of larvae required for production has increased from 10 to 100, but the sustainability has also been increased by 10 times. In this way, without changing anything, the energy obtained from the nuclear fusion device every day suddenly increased by 20 times. 700 bases can produce 4,100 trillion energy per day, which is nearly half of the nuclear energy. It can increase the upgrade speed of the main base by 50%. It originally took 1,100 days, but now it only takes 750 days. This is only one aspect of improvement. On the other hand, nuclear power systems have become more powerful. Although the thickness and density of degenerate materials have increased, the overall mass of the Zon-class battleship has increased by more than 3 times. However, the increased power of the nuclear power system was even more exaggerated. Not only did the speed not slow down, it actually became faster. The ultimate speed reached 8,000 km per second. The power of the hydrogen bomb has also become greater with the breakthrough of materials. Micronuclear bullets also benefit, becoming more explosive. These are all chain reactions caused by breakthroughs in materials science, but for Zhou Quan, the most important thing is the envisioned new generation of warships. In Xuanwang of Heaven and Earth, Earth-class battleships can be officially designed and constructed. In the core database, the design drawings of the Earth-class battleships have been lying around for a long time. They have been lacking the support of new materials and cannot be manufactured. The huge hull of more than 1,500 meters has a mass that is at least 10 times greater than that of a Zon-class battleship. It requires a huge amount of energy to drive, and it also requires stronger materials to construct. It can all be put on the schedule now. The only thing that is consistent with the original idea is the conventional weapons system. The research on conventional weapons systems seems to have reached a bottleneck, and it is difficult to break through. It is very difficult to jump out of bioenergy weapons and transform into real energy weapons. Energy cannons belong to the category of level 3 civilization, and currently Jokwon is only a level 2 civilization. The core is stepping up its research on the parts and components obtained from the Aoan civilization super warship, hoping to get inspiration from them. Scientific research is timeless, and more than 100 days passed in the blink of an eye. Finally, the first Earth-level battleship slowly flew out of the battleship factory. The length of the ship is 1,498 meters, which is slightly different from the expected design, but this is not a problem. In the eyes of anyone, these 2 meters will not be taken seriously. The quality has reached 8 times that of the Zon-class battleship. Equipped with 32 sets of nuclear power systems, its ultimate speed is the same as that of the Zon-class warship, which can reach 8,000 kilometers per second. Weapon system: 6 main guns, located at the bow, wings and stern of the ship. Although the energy cannon has not yet been truly developed, thanks to the huge hull, the bioenergy cannon has further increased in size and is 50% more powerful than the main gun on the Zon-class battleship. There are 3,000 secondary guns located around the battleship. Among them, 1,000 are adapted for micronuclear bombs and 10 million conventional nuclear bombs. There are 1,000 sets of Hell-class hydrogen bombs on the ship, and 1,000 Dragon armor fighters can be mounted at the same time. The data of the Earth-class battleships were presented one by one in front of Jokwon. The combat power is much stronger than that of the Zon-class battleship, and 1 versus 5 is no problem at all. Among Jokwon's army, the Earth-class battleships are only slightly weaker than the base. After all, if there is any good stuff, it will be installed on the upper level of the base as soon as possible. The base number that has reached level 17 has a hull length of 2,500 meters. After level 15, the length of the base number will be expanded by 500 meters for each level. As its name suggests, the ship is really like a base. About 50 billion kilometers away from Jokwon, space suddenly twisted, and a fighter plane that looked like a flying fish suddenly appeared in the vacuum of space. The total length of the fish-shaped fighter is only 3 meters, and its head has a sharp shape, which is very similar to that of a flying fish. The length of 3 meters is just a small amount compared to warships that can easily reach hundreds or thousands of meters. Even dragon-armored warriors are much bigger than it. But the way it appeared was surprising, as if it jumped out of the water and appeared suddenly. The flying fish fighter plane is smooth and reflects the light of stars like a mirror. It quickly adjusted its direction and rushed straight towards Hydromatherium, where Jokwon was. The flying fish fighter jet is very fast, reaching 10,000 kilometers per second. At its speed, it will only take 60 days to reach Aquamarine. Because of its small size, it was not discovered immediately. When the Corps detected the Feiyu fighter, 10 days had passed. At this time, it is 50 days away from Hydromasson. Fish-type fighter plane. The appearance and style are somewhat similar to those of Aoan civilization. After data comparison, the probability of belonging to the Aoan civilization exceeds 75%. Close black lens bracket. After the super warship was destroyed, it once sent out a strong light wave signal. Such a violent signal, if the Aoan civilization still exists, it will definitely be able to catch it. The light wave signal contains the location information here, as well as some unknown information. Perhaps only Aoan civilization itself can understand this unknown information. Obviously, Aoan civilization received the light wave signal and came over. A small fighter plane with a shape like a flying fish came, and I didn't know whether it was an enemy or a friend. Some Zon-level warships deployed outside immediately flew over. A few days later, the two sides had their first contact. The Feiyu fighter plane crashed into the Zon-class battleship without any words. Boom. The Zon-class battleship exploded. The terrifying impact energy instantly destroyed the Zon-class battleship. The Feiyu fighter plane flew out in the flames of the explosion without any change in speed, and continued to fly towards Water Guardian 10 at a terrifying speed of 10,000 kilometers per second. This behavior reminded Zhou Quan of his first civilized contact with the guards, how similar it was. Damn you, here comes another unreasonable guy. Zhou Quan was slightly angry. Immediately conduct data analysis, activate the hydrogen bomb trap, and use the nearby Zon-class battleship to test it first. If it is the Aoan civilization's fighter plane, does it still use degenerate materials? Can it be done with nuclear bombs? The nearby Zon-class battleships took action one after another, and there were unused hydrogen bomb traps on the route. A few days later, the nearest Zon-class warship arrived and blocked the Feiyu fighter plane. The bioenergy cannon beam pierced the sky. The Feiyu fighter plane ignored the attack of the bioenergy cannon at all, and without even changing its course, it crashed into the beam of the bioenergy cannon. The Feiyu fighter jet continued to fly within the beam of the bioenergy cannon, seemingly without any change in speed. It ignored the bioenergy cannon's attack. The bioenergy cannon continued to attack, one shot after another. The main and secondary guns on the Zon-class battleship were fired at full strength, but to no avail. The Feiyu fighter plane withstood the attack and crashed through the Zon-class warship. The Zon-class warship was completely torn apart by the terrifying kinetic energy and turned into cosmic dust. How's the data? Zhou Quan had expected this a long time ago and was not surprised. The Aoan civilization is at least a third-level civilization. The fighters of a third-level civilization are not so easy to deal with. The speed decreases by 1%, and the energy dispersion of the bioenergy cannon is 99.99%. Zhou Quan was surprised when he saw this set of data. Although the bioenergy cannon had no killing effect, the speed of the Feiyu fighter jet dropped by only 1% when traveling through such a large amount of energy. The energy scattering after the bioenergy cannon hits the target is as high as 99.99%. In addition to the loss, that is, your own attacks have no effect on it. Is the other party also a degenerate material? According to the data obtained so far, the possibility of it being a degenerate material is less than 10%, and the possibility of it being a completely new material is more than 90%. Close black lens bracket. Brand new materials. I have a headache. I don't know if nuclear bombs are useful. Try it with a nuclear bomb. The preparations for the Zon-class warships have been completed long ago. 2 days later, 10 Zon-class warships were standing ready on the route of the Feiyu fighter jets. The Feiyu fighter planes were still charging in unscrupulously. Driven by the energy cannon, the nuclear bomb instantly reached the ultimate speed of 100,000 kilometers per second, carrying powerful kinetic energy, and landed on the Feiyu fighter jet. Ultra-small nuclear explosions continued to occur within a range of only 100 cubic millimeters. The opponent's speed decreases by 3%. Open black lens bracket. Energy scattering 99.99%. Close black lens bracket. The opponent's surface has not changed in any way, so nuclear bombs are ineffective. Close black lens bracket. Looking at the data transmitted from the core, the huge kinetic energy of the nuclear bomb can only reduce its speed by 3%, which is not a big difference. The key is that the energy scattering is still as high as 99.99%, which means that all his attacks are reflected and have no effect. Zhou Quan witnessed with his own eyes that the Feiyu fighter jet rushed into the Zon-class battleship like a sharp arrow and emerged from the other end. Then he quickly changed direction and flew towards the nearest Zon-class battleship. In just 2 seconds, all 10 Zon-class battleships were rammed by Feiyu fighter jets and exploded like fireworks. Bioenergy cannons and micronuclear bullets are useless. In all likelihood, hydrogen bomb traps will not work. Zhou Quan's face had become ugly and he had a headache. First, the other party used an unknown material, which was extremely strong and exceeded degenerate materials. Rot. Secondly, the other side is completely sealed and there is no radiation leakage, which means that it is not a nuclear power system, but a brand new power system. Moreover, this new power system is very powerful, has extremely high acceleration, and can maintain ultra-high stability even under the impact of huge external forces. Third, because of its small size, it is very flexible and highly maneuverable. Fourth, it seems that the opponent only uses impact to attack, which also relies on powerful materials. Combined with the data provided by the core, summarize and analyze together, and list the advantages and disadvantages of the other party. But after that, except for the single attack method, there are almost no shortcomings. If weaknesses cannot be identified, corresponding measures cannot be taken. The technological level of Aoan civilization completely crushed itself. It has been more than 200 days since the light wave signal was sent out. Aoan civilization is unknown how far away from here. Being able to arrive in such a short time shows that the other party's long-distance navigation technology is also very powerful. What to do? This is a problem that Zhou Quan must solve. The consequences of not resolving it are death. The core has used 80% of its computing power for experimental calculations. There are less than 40 days left. If a solution to the problem cannot be found within this short period of time, the consequences can be imagined. There is no way to escape. With the detection technology and speed of Aoan civilization, this time is simply not enough to escape. After another 5 days, small suns visible to the naked eye appeared in the universe. The hydrogen bomb trap was triggered. The Exocet fighter plane rushed out of the violent nuclear explosion without any damage. So far, Zhou Quan has used all attack methods, but to no avail. Facing such an enemy who can't escape or defeat, I don't know what to do. 20 days later, the latest Earth-class warship appeared on the route of the Feiyu fighter. The main gun fires, the secondary gun fires, and the nuclear bombs fire. Groups of hydrogen bombs detonated, and the Dragon Armor War King stepped forward to stop them. In the end, they were all hit by Exocet fighter jets. The Earth-class battleship had a bad start and could not stop the collision of the Feiyu fighter jets. However, Zhou Quan also discovered something. The Feiyu fighter seemed to be destroying all enemies. It took a full 5 minutes for it to crash into thousands of dragon-armored warriors before it rushed towards itself again. Zhou Quan immediately dispatched a large number of dragon armor warriors. The purpose is to delay as much time as possible. Although the delay can't last long, every minute now is precious. Maybe in the next second, the core will calculate a way to deal with the Feiyu fighter. The Feiyu fighter planes are getting closer and closer to Aquamarine. 1/3 of the battleships have been sacrificed, and the losses of dragon-armored warriors have exceeded 200,000. But it only bought Zhou Quan 10 days. The flying fish fighter plane is like a killing machine that never gets tired, charging all the way. It is certain that flying fighter planes are a thing of the past in level 3 civilizations. Maybe the energy shield can resist it, and the real energy cannon can stop it. But Zhou Quan currently has neither. All means have been exhausted, but the Feiyu fighter still maintains its original appearance. Is there any way? Still calculating. 1. The core answer disappointed Zhou Quan. This answer means there is no way. In 5 days, the Exocet fighter jets will arrive. All means have now failed. If there is still no solution after 5 days, the result can be imagined. Master, if the calculation does not yield a result, then you can give up the base number. Close black lens bracket. Zhou Quan was already level 17 at this time, and he had surpassed most first-level civilizations. Even a small-yield hydrogen bomb might not be able to kill him. It is fully capable of living on any ordinary planet. Giving up the base number and losing the possibility of future development is also the worst choice. Zhou Quan shook his head and rejected Core's suggestion. Calculate carefully, there is no perfect way, I believe there will be a way. At this time, the core has allocated 99.9% of its computing power to how to solve the problem of Feiyu fighter jets. Battleship factories and the like have all been shut down. Time passed day by day. Zhou Quan did not leave, but stood on the base, standing alone in the universe. The Feiyu fighter plane is still 36 million kilometers away from itself, a 1-hour flight. 1 hour later, the Exocet fighter jet will hit the base. The base's degenerate armor, although a little stronger than the Earth-class battleship, still could not stop the impact of the Feiyu fighter. Zhou Quan felt that time began to slow down, and the light of the star passed through a long distance and failed to bring any heat to it. Master, the results have been calculated. Close black lens bracket. A picture suddenly appeared in Zhou Quan's neural network. The picture showed countless mathematical formulas and graphics that he couldn't understand. Based on calculations, we guess that the other party may have used strong force materials. Close black lens bracket. The strong force is one of the 4 fundamental forces in the universe. The hardness of materials made using the strong force is much stronger than degenerate materials. Close black lens bracket. Is there a way to solve? Zhou Quan was very calm and never panicked from beginning to end. Open black lens bracket. Have. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Use particle collider. As long as the balance of the flying fish fighter's materials can be destroyed, the strong force materials will fall apart. Close black lens bracket. This is also the biggest flaw of strong action materials. Close black lens bracket. Zhou Quan was not only calm, but even joked, if the idiom is used well, what is the success rate? After calculation, there is at least a 50% success rate. Close black lens bracket. Half the success rate is already very high. Well, just go ahead and do it. Whether we can survive or not depends on you. Zhou Quan said it lightly and handed over all authority to the core. He opened the Galaxy chat channel and looked at the channel where the family chatter was lively. These little guys who have just developed their base to level 6 or level 7, how do they know how terrifying the stars are? When they step into the starry sky, they first have to face the strangulation of the Guardian civilization. He defeated the Guardian civilization, but unexpectedly provoked a more powerful advanced civilization. After watching the chat channel for a while, Zhou Quan knew that this might be the last time. Then Zhou Quan looked at Mo Qing again. Mo Qing's base has now developed vigorously, like a huge steel city. And she is the master of this city and the queen. Mo Qing also often looks up at the stars. She knows that there is someone in the sky who is always protecting her. Although the two have never met, they seem to feel each other. The particle collider became a particle cannon. The core uses all the computing power to calculate the route launch time. After being emitted, the particles will reach 0.8 times the speed of light, which is 240,000 kilometers per second. After the impact, a considerable amount of energy will be released from the microscopic level. Although the energy lasts only a few tenths of a second, it can destroy the elemental balance of the Feiyu fighter in an instant. It's like a mountain of rocks that is completely balanced. As long as there is a problem with one stone, the entire mountain may completely collapse. Rot. There is only one chance, and the success rate is only half. But this is the last chance. With only 20 minutes left, a beam of particles was ejected at a speed of 240,000 kilometers per second. After 48 seconds of flight, it collided with the Exocet fighter jet. Particles invisible to the naked eye exploded into a huge energy area at the microscopic level. At the microscopic level, the material balance of strong forces on the Feiyu fighter is broken. The originally tight-knit elements were completely confused. Protons of some elements began to sublimate, and some electron atoms began to decay. In an instant, as if a violent elemental reaction had occurred, the Feiyu fighter jet erupted with terrifying energy fluctuations. A few seconds later, the Feiyu fighter exploded in a chaotic energy flow, and its armor was completely destroyed. The light passed into Zhou Quan's eyes, and it was colorful and extremely beautiful. Open black lens bracket successful. Close black lens bracket. Feiyu's fighter plane has lost its armor. Start capturing. The dragon-armored warrior who had been prepared for a long time immediately rushed over. At this time, a violent explosion suddenly occurred in the Feiyu fighter jet. The energy of the explosion is not strong, equivalent to the most ordinary missiles. But such an explosion occurred from inside the Exocet fighter jet. Self-destructed. Zhou Quan murmured. This was because he didn't want to be captured by himself. Zhou Quan suddenly thought of another question. The key to the problem is not the self-destruction, but whether the self-destruction occurred to a preset degree or was the result of someone controlling it from a super long distance. If the latter one, it's really endless. Zhou Quan cursed. Let's see what we can bring back. It felt like I was walking around the gate of hell, so close to death. The dragon-armored warriors went over and searched for the fragments with all their strength. Things from advanced civilizations, even just a grain of powder, have great research value. The core has already recorded the data. This experience allowed the core to harvest a large amount of data, which is of extraordinary significance to scientific research. Sure enough, there are still some remaining fragments. The dragon-armored warrior brought the fragments back and sent them to the laboratory. After a few days, it was determined that nothing was missing. Zhou Quan said in a deep voice, "Core, get ready, it's time for us to leave." "Obey, Great Lord." Righteousness. The location of Aquamarine has been completely exposed. This time the Feiyu fighter plane's defeat may have been spread back to the Aoan civilization. How could Aoan civilization allow itself to fail, especially in front of a small second-level civilization like itself? The next wave of attacks will come soon, and the scale of this wave of attacks will definitely be far greater than the previous one. I was lucky enough to survive this time, and it was a lot of luck. After repeated discussions and arguments with the core, we decided to leave here. The direction has been calculated, heading towards the star. It reaches star number 2 about 20 days later and leaves on the 21st day. Then continue to star number 2. Star number 2 is about 100 billion kilometers away from star number 1, traveling at a speed of 6,000 kilometers per second. If nothing goes wrong, it will arrive in about 193 days. Star number 2 is not the end. Zhou Quan plans to stay away from the watery, 610, satellite completely. After passing the number 2 star, continue to the farther number 3 star. Star number 3 is farther away, more than 300 billion kilometers away, and takes nearly 600 days to reach. It will take more than 800 days to reach the number 3 star from the water moon, and the total journey will exceed 400 billion kilometers. That is a distance of 15.5 light days. After arriving at star number 3, consider other things. But before departure, some modifications are needed. Especially the transformation of the battleship factory. According to the voyage plan designed by Zhou Quan and the core, the battleship factory also needs to be taken away together. Moreover, warships must continue to be built during the voyage. In this case, it is necessary to install a power system for the base. However, after rigorous demonstration and calculation, it was found that it is not realistic to install a power system for the base. So Zhou Quan came up with an even bolder plan. Take Aqua away. Zhou Quan's idea was confirmed by the data after core calculation. With 500 sets of nuclear-powered engines installed everywhere on the moon, the huge thrust is enough to push the moon. And it can reach a speed of 6,000 kilometers per second. According to core calculations, larger-scale planetary engines can be built, so that only 10 sets are needed to propel hydromons. However, planetary engines have relatively high technical requirements, and scientific research requires a little time, and what Zhou Quan lacks is precisely time. The core also knows this and solves the current problems first and then makes technical iterations in the future. 3 days later, the installation of a total of 1,000 sets of nuclear power engines was completed. Among them, 500 groups working at the same time can achieve the requirements of propelling hydroxy. The extra 500 groups are for backup to prevent damage. Of course, this probability is very low. The second is to do work at all angles. If the course needs to be changed, engines in different directions will be required to do work. Deceleration and braking also require work from the engine at a relative position. At this time, all the 100 million nuclear worms that were originally on Hydroma have returned to Hydroma. As the nuclear power started to ignite, the huge power gradually pushed Aquamarine away from the orbit that it had been running for an unknown number of years. Aquamarine is vibrating violently, and the thrust of the engine is competing for strength with the gravity of Aquamarine. As the power of the launch became stronger and stronger, the thrust finally defeated the gravity of Aquamarine. As you can see from Aquamarine, Aqua is moving away. The change in gravity drives the tides on Aquamarine, and the ocean currents on Aquamarine become extremely chaotic. This attracted the attention of various creatures on Aquamarine. A large number of second-level civilized creatures poked their heads out and saw Aquamarine speeding away. To them, this is outright theft. A large number of second-level civilization creatures rushed into the sky, rushed out of the planet, and rushed towards them. Zhou Quan had already prepared, and a large number of warships were ready to go. Under the bombardment of the bioenergy cannon, the second-level creature that had just rushed out of the aqua blue star was hit head-on. They fell back screaming. The hundreds of creatures that took the lead to rush out were all dead in an instant. The remaining second-level civilized creatures immediately retracted their heads. Although they were not smart enough, they were not fools either. They immediately realized that this thief was not something they could fight against. Biological instinct tells them not to go to death, just stay at home. The kinetic energy generated by a total of 500 sets of nuclear-powered engines is extremely powerful. Aquamarine's speed is getting faster and faster, gradually breaking away from Aquamarine's gravitational control. From then on, Aquamarine was no longer a satellite of Aquamarine, but became a wandering planet. Mo Qing, who was on fellow Star 01, suddenly felt a slight tremor in her heart, as if she was about to lose something. Then she got a signal. I'm leaving and going to a distant place. I will come back when I have the opportunity in the future. I also want to take away the battleship above. It won't cause you trouble. If you look up at the stars, you might be able to see a planet moving away. The language is very simple, but there seems to be a touch of helplessness in it. Mo Qing's sixth sense captured this very keenly. But she didn't say anything. She knew that Zhou Quan must have a reason to leave. Many days later at night, she saw a small planet passing through the starry sky, which was Aqua. The figure of Aquamarine could be seen for several days in a row, until Aquamarine became farther and farther away and disappeared from sight. Route calculation completed. Close black lens bracket. It will arrive at star number 1 tomorrow, and a star detector will be released to collect data. Close black lens bracket. The closest point is 5 million kilometers away from star number 1. Close black lens bracket. Unknowingly, it has been 19 days since we set off. Aquamarine will finally reach the star and then move away from a distance of 5 million kilometers. At this distance, you can already feel the heat of the star, and you can also feel the constant and huge gravity. The reason why it wants to get so close to star number 1 is that the core wants to detect the star during the voyage and collect a large amount of data. Scientific research calculations cannot be separated from the support of large amounts of data. The more comprehensive the data, the faster the research speed. Several groups of detectors have already flown out. They look like satellites, but they are different from satellites. The entire body is made of degenerate materials and can withstand temperatures up to 500 million degrees. The number 0.9 star is much larger than the Sun, with a surface temperature of about 10,000 degrees and a core temperature of up to 1 billion degrees, far exceeding the maximum temperature that the detector can withstand. Therefore, these detectors were launched in the form of artillery shells and were not equipped with corresponding power systems because they had no intention of recycling them. Their job is just to collect data. Zhou Quan looked at the stars getting bigger and bigger and felt the heat. This is the first time I have seen stars so close. This is a huge fireball, burning, raging, constantly releasing huge amounts of nuclear radiation, scattering invisible matter, and providing energy to a large number of planets. At this time, a stellar wind blew by, and the instrument detected the stellar wind. I remember the first time it was blown by a stellar wind and the satellite was directly damaged. So far, safe and sound. Unconsciously, technology has advanced too much. On the 23rd day of departure, he had left the star. Start launching satellites. Close black lens bracket. In the first batch, tens of thousands of satellites were released. The speed of the satellite's nuclear power system can reach 8,000 kilometers per second. It has the same speed as a battleship, and is 2,000 kilometers per second faster than Proton. They will serve as pioneers, exploring the situation in all directions, with Hydroma opening the way. Every 30 days, 10,000 satellites will be released, heading in all directions, and will report back what they have learned. The satellite also has stealth technology, which matches the frequency of the background radiation of the universe and is not easy to detect. During the flight, the production and scientific research of the warship never stopped. The production speed of Earth-class warships is much slower than that of Zon-class warships, and the number that can be produced per day is only 150. This problem can be fundamentally improved after the main base reaches level 20. This state can only be maintained for now. Although it is already known that the management area of 28 patrollers is Area 7 of the Endless Galaxy, the 3rd Division, numbered 07.03. But the specific scope is not clear. Perhaps the boundaries in the universe are not that simple, and the delay is too large, so we can only give an approximate estimate. Even if it exceeds the boundary by hundreds of thousands of kilometers, it is only an insignificant section. At least after flying past star number 1 for another 100 days, Zhou Quan has not encountered other civilizations. Or put it into a managed area that has not yet left the Guardian civilization. It was also on the 100th day that good news finally came from the core. The energy cannon has a new look. As for the breakthrough in energy cannon research, the first major contributor turned out to be a half-substance, half-energy life form from planet 381. It was during the study of this half-substance, half-energy life form that the core achieved a breakthrough. This life form has something in common with the Zerg creatures. Its mutually integrated characteristics provide new research directions for the core. After the fusion, the energy is doubled. Why it can accommodate such powerful energy, the core continues to explore and study. Finally, after countless experimental calculations, the energy cannon finally appeared. It is also the structure of a biological energy cannon. The biological level has evolved, and the performance of the biological body has been greatly improved by utilizing the characteristics of semi-energy life forms. Mechanical materials were replaced with the latest degenerate materials. The combination of the two can accommodate even greater energy. There is an enhanced nuclear fusion device at the rear to provide energy. After the theory was realized, and then the initial prototype was realized in the laboratory, it was officially put into production. Battleship, receive modifications and upgrades. The energy cannon developed this time is defined as a primary energy cannon. According to tests, it is more than 10 times more powerful than previous bioenergy cannons. It is stronger than the secondary gun on the Aoan civilization super battleship, but compared to the main gun, it is hard to say without comparison. One shot is now enough to penetrate 10 mm thick degenerate armor. It is not the crude degenerate armor of the patroller civilization, but the degenerate armor of the Aoan civilization. However, if it is used to deal with the powerful force armor of the Exocet fighter, its power is far from enough. Zhou Quan was puzzled. With the energy cannon, could it be considered a level 3 civilization? Only the weapon system has been improved a bit, and there has been no qualitative change in other aspects. The third level civilization should be more than just that. According to predictions, the definition of level 3 civilization is the in-depth application of energy. Close black lens bracket. Energy cannons are only the most basic application of energy, and we are only primary energy cannons. As long as we continue to research and develop, the power can be increased many times. Close black lens bracket. Zhou Quan, please understand, so what is considered a third-level civilization? According to calculations, the starting point for level 3 civilization should be the application of energy shields. Close black lens bracket. Research on energy shields has already been carried out. Close black lens bracket. Energy shield. Zhou Quan recalled that the energy bomb exploded that day, swallowing up tens of thousands of his warships. As a result, the warships of the Guardian civilization were safe and sound while hiding in the energy shield. It can even resist energy bombs. You can imagine how strong the energy shield is. Therefore, it is not an exaggeration to say that the energy shield is a symbol of level 3 civilization. It is very difficult to cross level civilization, and it is not easy to solve the key technologies. Zhou Quan thought about the technological explosion of the Earth. It had experienced thousands of years of cold weapon era before entering the hot era after a technological explosion. Without the technological explosion, we don't know how difficult the cold weapon era would have been. Now he is also facing this problem. Technology has been slowly improving, but this progress is too slow. If there is no technological explosion, it may take decades or hundreds of years before there is a big breakthrough, and this is still an optimistic idea. Master, it doesn't take such a long time. Close black lens bracket. We have come into contact with Aoan civilization, have an intuitive understanding of their technology, and have collected a lot of data, which will speed up our development process. Close black lens bracket. Also, the base will officially enter the second level civilization after level 20, which can unlock some data, which can also provide a lot of help for development. Close black lens bracket. Zhou Quan smiled, and after listening to Core's words, he seemed to be on the verge of a bright future. It seems that you are more optimistic about our future development. This is not optimism, but a calculation based on data. Close black lens bracket. Then you can calculate when we will become a level 3 civilization. If nothing unexpected happens, it should be between 11,130 and 1,000. Close black lens bracket. 3 black lines appeared on Zhou Quan's forehead. Aren't you talking nonsense? This is a calculated result, not nonsense. Close black lens bracket. It took 3,000 years for the Guardian civilization to develop from the barbaric period to the first-level civilization. It took 5,000 years to develop from first-level civilization to second-level civilization. Then it took 15,000 years to develop from the second-level civilization to the current level. Close black lens bracket. And according to their estimates, it will take at least 30,000 years to develop from a second-level civilization to a third-level civilization. Close black lens bracket. This is the first time Zhou Quan has heard of this data. He knew that the Corps had obtained all the information in the Guardian Civilization database, and it was available for him to check at any time. He only looked at a small part of it. It seems that there are still many useful places in this information. It seems that our development is still fast, so let's keep it up. Since it is between 10 and 1,000 years, we should try our best to get it done in 10 years. The Corps has not spoken, and 10 years is the most ideal state. Unless something unexpected happens, it is unlikely that a civilizational leap will be achieved within 10 years. There are over 800 days of sailing in the setting, and the whole process is boring. Zhou Quan can study and pass the time by checking the information obtained from the civilized places of the guards. The knowledge gained from a ranger civilization is comprehensive. From the development history of the Guardian civilization to various basic knowledge and advanced knowledge, everything is included. The Corps is simply bringing back the civilization level library of the Guardian civilization. Zhou Quan on Earth is not stupid, but he is definitely not a genius. Graduated from an ordinary university and found an ordinary job. After a few years, the knowledge was basically returned to the teacher, but the tuition fees were not refunded. Now he has reached level 17 and has reached the advanced level of the first level civilization. The brain has been greatly developed, thinking has become clearer, and calculation speed has increased geometrically. It feels very easy to learn. Even the knowledge I had learned at Earth University began to come to my mind again. Knowledge that seems profound and difficult to understand can now be understood by looking at it without explaining it, but it can be understood very quickly. There are some things that are not very clear, but the Corps is the best teacher. Zhou Quan began to enter the ocean of knowledge. It even gave rise to the illusion, I can become a scientist. According to the current Corps statement, Zhou Quan's brain development level has reached 20%. The level of development is doubled compared to the 10% development level of normal people. As the level increases in the future, the brain development will be further improved. When arriving at the number 2 star, Zhou Quan observed the planet again and also threw out a large number of detectors. Star number 2 is a blue giant, emitting blue light throughout its body. The surface temperature exceeds 1 million degrees, which is 100 times hotter than star number 1. The volume is also much larger than that of star 1. Hydromass passes 100 million kilometers away from the second star, and the superheat can still be felt here. The Corps records data and displays various data on the screen at the same time. Zhou Quan is no longer a master of ignorance, he can now understand a lot of data. Not only can you understand it, but you can also perform quick calculations and analysis through these data. During these nearly 200 days, Zhou Quan learned too much knowledge. The surface is 1 million degrees, and the core temperature may have exceeded 100 billion degrees. In this extreme high temperature, the form of matter will be completely changed. Even strong materials will be incinerated. The advantage of strong force materials is that they are strong, but the disadvantage is that the balance is easily damaged. Close black lens bracket. Depending on the properties of the material elements themselves, the extreme temperatures they can withstand are also different. Extreme high temperatures or extremely low temperatures can cause elemental collapse of materials with strong force, thus completely losing their function. Close black lens bracket. In the past 200 days, the Corps has also been conducting computational experiments on materials with strong forces, and has obtained a large amount of data. Zhou Quan also discusses various scientific issues with the Corps. In terms of computing power, Zhou Quan is naturally not as comprehensive as Corps. But Zhou Quan also has its advantages, which is creative thinking. This is an ability that only living things have, and an intelligent brain like the core does not yet have it. Sometimes Zhou Quan will have some wild ideas that can bring some inspiration to the core. 2 days later, they bid farewell to star number 2 and flew toward the more distant star number 3. This journey will last 600 days. In the past 2 days, thousands of detectors were sent out, but in the end they were unable to withstand the ultra-high temperature inside the blue giant star. It didn't last long before it melted. The maximum temperature measured at that time had reached 3 billion degrees, and it was only less than 1/10 of the number of blue giant stars. The universe is so big that all kinds of extreme celestial bodies can indeed exist. When Hydromas is 400 days old and has flown over 200 billion kilometers. Core suddenly showed a picture in front of Zhou Quan. It was a picture transmitted back by the satellite on Aquamarine. A violent explosion occurred on the aqua blue star. The entire planet collapsed and shrank, and was eventually completely destroyed in the violent explosion. The satellite's image changes, followed by the explosion of Aquamarine is seen from the satellite of Hydroceles. The destruction of the aqua blue star and the second-level civilized creatures on it also caused death and injury, and less than 10% survived. At the same time, the explosion of Aquamarine also caused dramatic gravitational changes. Aquamarine is a planet with huge mass. Unlike the disappearance of Aquamarine, the impact is not big. Its sudden disappearance will cause serious disturbances in the nearby gravitational balance. Sure enough, just 1 day later, Deimos was affected, and then Deimos was also affected, and then some nearby planets. In just 10 days, the area where Aqua Blue Star is located has turned into a chaotic and terrifying space. In Zhou Quan's view, this area will not be peaceful for tens of thousands of years, but will always remain chaotic. Zhou Quan sighed. The water blue star was destroyed because of himself. If he hadn't left, he would have been destroyed along with Aqua Blue Star now. Quote. Alan Jimming is really direct. Do you know what means they used to destroy Aqua Blue Star? It should be a weapon similar to an energy cannon, because extremely violent energy fluctuations were detected before the explosion of the Aqua Blue Star. Close black lens bracket. Star Destroyer Cannon. Zhou Quan thought of this weapon. Such weapon names appeared in the Guardian civilization. The energy cannon of level 3 civilization has this ability. The powerful Star Destroyer Cannon is said to be capable of destroying stars. The probability of the Star Destroyer Cannon is as high as 80%. Close black lens bracket. Destroy all nearby satellites and don't let the Aoan civilization track us. It has been destroyed. Only one satellite on Moching's side is still operating, but it has entered a stealth state. Close black lens bracket. Zhou Quan thought for a moment, well, let's do that. There's only one, so there shouldn't be any problems. After all, he was the first compatriot he found, so Zhou Quan still treated him differently. Let's continue research. I have new ideas about energy shields. I said, it's up to you. Open black lens bracket. Obey, Lord. Close black lens bracket. Nullies. Zhou Quan's idea is very simple. Use strong magnetic fields to restrain high energy elements. Advanced elements have extremely high energy. Under the constraints of the magnetic field, the energy flows and forms a thin film-like substance. This film will generate hundreds of millions of degrees of high temperature and strong current, which can melt and burn everything it comes into contact with. Even invisible energy is repelled by strong electrons. The core was immediately put into intense calculations. Zhou Quan's idea is very reasonable and worth a try. The problem is that there are many high-energy elements, including electrons, particles, protons, and spots. Each type has different characteristics, and will produce various changes under the influence of a strong magnetic field. The variations are endless. Even with the core running at full capacity, it takes a lot of time to calculate and find the right thing. However, Zhou Quan feels that the idea he provided is very likely to become a reality. The core allocates a lot of computing power to calculate Zhou Quan's ideas. However, now a large amount of data has been accumulated in the core database, and it is no longer necessary to start from scratch. Many parameters can be taken out and used directly, which saves a lot of time. There is also a lot of research data on the Guardian civilization, some of which can be referred to, and some of which can be used directly. In this way, the research progress is much faster. During the estimated voyage of more than 800 days, Zhou Quan continued to learn all kinds of advanced knowledge, exuding the temperament of a scholar, just like a scientist. On the 621st day, the core calculation finally found a breakthrough. Various particles were tested, and finally a particle was found that was most suitable for the energy shield. Photons are one of the elementary particles and are very common. There are a large number of photons in the radiation produced by nuclear fusion, and they are also present in some medical instruments such as X-ray machines. Even the light of stars contains photons. In layman's terms, photons are everywhere. What is suitable for energy shields are high-energy photons, also called high-frequency photons. The higher the frequency of the photon, the greater the energy level contained in it. A strong magnetic field is used to confine a large number of photons, and then accelerate them to extremely high frequencies, turning them into high-energy photons. High-energy photons are interdependent under the constraints of the magnetic field, forming visible matter that contains huge energy and is like a thin film. This kind of film has extremely high temperature and large current, which can easily resist various invisible energy attacks and can melt and decompose various substantial substances in microseconds. A small energy shield device was produced in the laboratory. The energy shield was activated, forming a sphere about 1 meter in diameter. Then the core conducted various tests on the protective cover and collected data. The number 1 protective cover device used in the experiment has a surface temperature of 100 million degrees and is strong and anti-resistant. Close black lens bracket. Zhou Quan asked the core to digitize the strength of the armor, which would make it more intuitive. Taking the most basic steel as the standard, it is defined as strength 1. Then the strength of the alloy used on the primary yellow-class battleship is 10. On the basis of the alloy, with the addition of the Guardian's degenerate coating, the strength will rise directly to 100. The strength of the Guard's degenerate material with a thickness of 1 mm is 300, while the degenerate material of his own Arawan civilization is also 1 mm thick and has a strength of 3000. When the thickness reaches 10 mm, the strength reaches 15,000. Strength does not increase proportionally with thickness. Materials have their limit values. The current limit value of degenerate materials is between 15,000 and 20,000, which is also due to limitations of technological level. Theoretically, there is no limit to the strength of degenerate materials. The higher the density, the greater the strength. The key is how high the density of degenerate materials can be created by the level of science and technology. If we could make it as dense as a neutron star. It is estimated that this battleship cannot fly, and due to the balance of physical strength and fluid, the battleship itself will collapse due to its excessive mass, and eventually turn into a ball. The primary energy shield equipment in the laboratory only uses a small amount of energy to produce a protection strength of 50,000, which is several times higher than that of degenerate materials. If the energy output is further increased and the frequency of high-energy photons is accelerated, the energy levels can be amplified. In short, the prototype of the energy shield has appeared in the laboratory, which also means that Zhou Quan has already half-stepped into the threshold of Level 3 civilization. As speculated before, Level 3 civilization is the in-depth application of energy. Then the core began a large number of experiments, including the strength of the magnetic field, energy consumption, different combinations, and different models, to select the optimal ratio. This is core work. However, Zhou Quan's idea has been proven to be very effective. The door to Level 3 civilization has slowly opened. Similarly, the breakthrough of energy shield has also become a solid theoretical foundation. Zhou Quan finally understood the principle of energy bombs. That is ultra-high frequency high-energy photons, which can burst into terrifyingly high temperatures in an instant. This temperature may exceed tens of billions of degrees. At this temperature, almost all substances will be vaporized instantly. Therefore, nothing will be left under the energy bomb. It looks like it's been swallowed up, but it's actually been vaporized. With the theoretical foundation in place, the next breakthrough is a matter of course. After more than 50 days, the core finally found the most suitable ratio, and the primary protective shield was officially declared a success. Zhou Quan's technology has also officially entered the threshold of Level 3 civilization. Primary energy shield, surface temperature 500 million degrees, energy intensity 100,000. 3 primary energy shield generating devices working together can cover the Earth-class battleship, while only one is enough for the Zon-class battleship. At the same time, the core continues to improve the energy shield. The improvement is divided into 2 aspects, one is stronger and the other is smaller. Stronger is to increase the protection strength. The purpose of making it smaller is to allow small combat units such as Dragon Armor Warriors to apply it. This not only reduces the coverage of the energy shield but also reduces the need for energy shields. Is it enough? Nuclear fusion consumes a large amount of nuclear fuel, which must be replenished regularly. Although the energy supply is huge and the level is not low, the sustainability is relatively poor. It is necessary to find a way to supply energy that is equally large and can continue to supply energy for a long time. This method certainly exists. Just like the Feiyu fighter in Aoan civilization, its energy source does not belong to nuclear fusion. Moreover, the kinetic energy is very sufficient, and the supply is also long-lasting and stable. Otherwise, with its length of only 3 meters, how much nuclear fuel can be placed? Protective shield technology is just a threshold for level 3 civilization, an iconic technology. If you want to become a strong person in the 3rd level civilization, you need to conduct further in-depth research on energy. At least the energy supply method of nuclear fusion has definitely been eliminated in the main level civilization. There must be more advanced energy sources. Zhou Quan is still studying and thinking hard. The core is also calculating, producing primary energy shields, and transforming Earth-class battleships and Zon-class battleships. After more than 700 days of accumulation, the number of Earth-class battleships now exceeds 100,000, while there are still 50,000 Zon-class battleships left. After the Earth-class battleships were put into production, the Zon-class battleships were no longer built and had entered the phase of elimination. Star number 3 is getting bigger and bigger, and the long voyage of more than 800 days is finally coming to an end. Star number 3 is also a blue giant. However, compared to star number 2, its mass and volume are smaller, and its surface temperature is also lower. After measurement, the expressed temperature remains at about 700,000 degrees, which is much lower than the 1 million degrees of star number 2. The voyage of more than 800 days finally ended. At this time, Hydrozone 1 had flown a full 400 billion kilometers and stayed 100 million kilometers away from the number 3 star. Aoan civilization shouldn't be able to catch up, come on. Zhou Quan said to himself that he was 80% sure that Aoan civilization had lost track of him. There is a connection between himself and the number 1 star area. Only the same species number 01 where Moqing is located still has a satellite. But this satellite alone is unlikely to be able to track him. Unless the technology of Aoan civilization has developed to an extremely terrifying level. But if it really comes to that point, how can it let its warship fall into the hands of the patrol civilization? After core calculations and speculations, Zhou Quan's idea is basically correct. The probability that Aoan civilization will catch up is no more than 10%. It's basically safe now. Beyond star number 3, there is endless darkness ahead. The next star is very, very far away. Through observation, it is roughly determined that star number 4 is about 50 light days away from star number 3. It is almost 1.3 trillion kilometers. At a speed of 5,000 kilometers per second, it takes 3,000 days to sail. This time is too long. Zhou Quan does not want to sail such a long distance before navigation technology is further developed. In fact, if it weren't for the Aoan civilization, Zhou Quan would not have come here at all. He would rather stay on Aquamarine and develop technology with peace of mind. The attributes of an otaku are clearly visible at this moment. If the voyage of more than 800 days has ended, there is a high probability that Aoan civilization will not catch up. His otaku attribute has come into play again. Let's develop here with peace of mind for a while and upgrade the technology that needs to be upgraded. The base number will be upgraded in 2 days. Zhou Quan was thinking. Now his mind is moving very fast and he handles things in an orderly manner, which is completely different from before. He instinctively believed that this was the power brought by knowledge. Launch satellites and control the conditions of nearby planets. A total of 10,000 satellites took off and flew in all directions. Among them, 5,000 satellites are flying in the direction of star number 4. There are also a large number of planets between the two stars. You can check these. Each planet has its own special materials and may even produce special biological life. The core needs to enrich its own database. The detection systems are all deployed, scanning the surrounding information. Hundreds of star detectors have also set off to the interior of star number 3. 2 days later, the base number finally received an upgrade. Reached level 18. The next level takes about 1100 days, which is almost 3 years. Zhou Quan is not in a hurry, he can afford to wait for 3 years. Now the development of the Zerg is no longer a constraint on technological development. For him, the upgrade of the Zerg base is more about improving his own abilities. The overall combat effectiveness is not greatly improved. What I hope more now is the advancement of science and technology, the development of stronger weapons, and truly becoming a third-level civilization, or even a strong one among the third-level civilization. Currently, the most powerful weapon in his hand is still the hydrogen bomb, a hydrogen bomb with a large yield. With the support of a new generation of degenerate materials and magnetic field confinement technology, the scale of hydrogen bombs is getting larger and larger. Although the name of the Hell-level hydrogen bomb has not changed, its power has been increased more than 100 times. The equivalent amount has also been increased to a terrifying figure, at least 100 billion kilograms. One is enough to blow up some small planets. Although the primary energy cannon weapon is powerful, its overall destructive power is still not as good as the ultra-large-scale hydrogen bomb. Of course, in the future, hydrogen bombs will gradually be phased out and replaced by more and more powerful energy weapons. This is an inevitable trend, and Zhou Quan knows this very well. Research new weapons and create weapons of mass destruction that can replace hydrogen bombs, such as energy star bombs. Quote, researching new energy supply systems, the development of nuclear fusion has reached its limits. Nowadays, the consumption of nuclear fuel alone accounts for 1/3 of the material to energy converters. Third, research a new power system with a target speed of 20,000 kilometers per second. 4. Zhou Quan issued orders step by step and pointed out the direction of next research. 20 days after arriving at star number 3, the satellite sent out finally sent back information. Traces of life activity have been found on several nearby planets. These beings are not very advanced beings, and have not even reached the first level of civilization. Zhou Quan ignored it for the time being. Only the remains of several bases were discovered. The bases all represent a fellow being from Earth. They all failed to develop and died on the alien planet. Zhou Quan had already thought of this. 1 billion people have come here, and it would be good if only 10 million can survive in the end. In alien life, the survival rate of 1% is actually not that low. Master, discovered the signal source of advanced civilization. Close black lens bracket. Using common language. Close black lens bracket. Translate. Zhou Quan showed a hint of vigilance. The advanced civilization that the core talks about is at least a level 2 civilization. So far, among the advanced civilizations he has come into contact with, none of them can have a good conversation, and they all start fighting. I don't know what this advanced civilization is like, whether it is a level 2 civilization or a level 3 civilization. 0. But according to his estimation, it should be a level 2 civilization. The Guardian civilization is a member of the Endless Galaxy, one of every 7 regions, and is in charge of the 3rd division. Although I have sailed for more than 800 days and covered a long distance of 400 billion kilometers, but on the scale of the universe, this is only a very small distance. But he felt that he should have left the zone managed by the civilized guards and entered another zone managed by civilization. The civilizations that manage the partitions are all second-level civilizations. However, it is also a second-level civilization, and there are strengths and weaknesses in it. The patroller civilization is not considered weak in the second-level civilization, but it is definitely not considered strong. The core quickly translated the signal sent by the other party and played it back in the form of synthesized speech. We are the managers of Yushan civilization, the 7th region, and the 4th division. All civilizations in the zone that are promoted to level 2 must report. If you don't report it, we have the right to erase it. A few sentences played over and over again are the lingua franca. Most secondary civilizations have the ability to translate it. As for who to report to and how to report, it was not said. Sure enough, we have arrived at another partition, a partition managed by the second-level civilization, Yushan civilization. I don't know what kind of civilization this is. Report, it sounds like there is no need for war. But what is the real situation? Zhou Quan was vigilant and asked a satellite that had flown more than 1 billion kilometers to send a reporting request to the signal source of Yushan civilization. Let's take a look, there will be results soon. It takes some time for the signal sent by the satellite to be transmitted, and it also takes time for the Yushan civilization to respond. During this period, Zhou Quan did not relax his development. He has just mastered the energy shield technology. Although it is still in the early stages, his combat power has been greatly improved. Regarding the secondary civilization, Zhou Quan didn't take it very seriously. What he is worried about is the third-level civilization behind the second-level civilization. The third-level civilization that manages the seventh area is the Alan civilization. Their attitude towards the new civilization is probably not much better. The universe is always full of hostility. Just like what our ancestors once said that has been passed down for thousands of years, those who are not of my race must have different minds. There are bound to be contradictions between civilizations and between races. If we want to truly peacefully coexist, we can only give gifts from the strong to the weak. So no matter how the Yushan civilization responds to 137, whether they want peace or war, Zhou Quan is fully prepared. Having flown aquamarine in the universe for such a long time, we have accumulated a lot of experience. So Zhou Quan took a fancy to several nearby asteroids. These asteroids are not large in size, much smaller than hydromas. Earth-class battleships were dispatched, bringing with them a large number of planetary engines. First, a large planetary engine is installed on each asteroid, and then the asteroid is taken away from its original orbit to complete the capture work. These asteroids were then transformed into war fortresses. Before the energy shield is developed, this transformation is meaningless. A large-yield nuclear bomb is enough to destroy a war fortress transformed from an asteroid. Even conventional weapons, as long as they are in sufficient quantity, can cause a fatal blow to an asteroid. After all, it is impossible to cover an asteroid with degenerate materials. Such an engineering star would be too big. Transforming asteroids is time-consuming and labor-intensive, but the combat power is completely insufficient. But with the energy shield, the imagined war fortress can play a huge role. First of all, the huge size is not limited, and larger weapons and larger energy shield generators can be placed. With energy shields, asteroids can still have sufficient defensive power even without degenerate materials. At the same time, weapons that are not subject to space regulations will be more powerful, surpassing battleships without any problem. With planetary engine technology, the maneuverability of asteroids may be a little worse, but not much worse. Moreover, after the transformation, the asteroid can be attacked from 360 degrees without any blind spots. After rigorous calculations, after the transformation is completed, the combat effectiveness of the asteroid will be very impressive. After searching, 10 suitable asteroids were found within a range of 50 million kilometers. An average of 200 sets of planetary engines are installed on each asteroid. The planetary engine ignited and worked, and these asteroids quickly left their original orbits and were captured by Zhou Quan. It took a few days to fly to the vicinity of the base and start the renovation project. 1 million dragon armored warriors became coolies and began to work without complaint. On the 15th day after the satellite signal was sent out, a warship flew over from the main direction of the angle between star number 4 and star number 3, and flew straight to the satellite. The speed is 7,000 kilometers per second, and the power source is nuclear power. Close black lens bracket. The battleship is 600 meters long. Close black lens bracket. With degenerate materials, from the perspective of radiation feedback, the intensity exceeds 10,000. Close black lens bracket. Suspected to possess energy-like weapons. Close black lens bracket. The core continuously excludes and reports the monitored data. Zhou Quan has seen the other party's appearance through the neural network. The flattened oval battleship has a mirror-like luster on its body, which is the luster of a degenerate material. There are also pictures of mountains on the same side. Yushan civilization seems to like mountains very much. Other data seem to be better than the patrol civilization. It is estimated that it is also a powerful force among the second-level civilizations. The warships of the Yushan civilization came 500,000 kilometers away from the satellite. Apparently they also discovered the satellite. Seeing that it was just a satellite transmitting signals to them, Yushan civilization was obviously angry. Zhou Quan doesn't know what their culture is like, but their behavior speaks for itself. An energy beam was shot from the battleship and accurately hit the satellite. After destroying the satellite, the Yushan civilization began to patrol the surrounding areas. With the satellite as the center point, the 100 million kilometers of the city are within its range. After searching for several days and failing to obtain any useful information, it opened fire again and cleared up the surrounding meteorite fragments. At the same time, several cannons hit nearby planets, causing violent explosions on the planets. This was undoubtedly a disaster for the planets. Energy-like cannon, not a real energy cannon, its power is only 70% of the primary energy cannon. It seems that the other party is also researching energy cannons. Being able to develop this weapon similar to energy cannons shows that the other party has already conducted quite in-depth research on energy cannons. It's just that my temper isn't very good. Could it be that I feel like I'm being teased? But if you destroy my satellite like this, you still have to settle the account. Zhou Quan sneered. The battleship of Yushan civilization had left and disappeared into the vast universe. Hundreds of satellites have quietly followed along its departure route. Using stealth technology, the satellite relies on inertia to move forward after completing acceleration, making it difficult to be detected. Find the territory of Yushan civilization and then plan the next move. Actions like transforming asteroids by yourself might also attract the attention of Yushan civilization. The transformation is carried out in an orderly manner. The transformation work of 10 asteroids is carried out simultaneously and in parallel. The entire transformation process takes about 100 days. After 100 days, in addition to the regular battleship army, there will be 10 planetary fortresses. The strength will be greatly increased. In addition to transforming the asteroid, the Corps rebuilt a large laboratory, and the scale was even larger than before. The particle collider alone is 2,000 kilometers long. It's like a huge straight tube 1.4 across the universe. With the further development of science and technology, micro-level research is becoming more and more important. Especially in energy research, most of them are conducted at the microscopic level. The microscopic level involves various substances such as electrons, particles, protons, hadrons, photons, etc. As long as things at the micro level are thoroughly studied, the level of science and technology can definitely be greatly improved. If the technological level did not allow it, the Corps would have to build a larger scale particle collider. If the mass is too high, centripetal gravity will cause the material to bend toward the center. Although degenerate materials have high strength but higher mass, this kind of bending will also exist. The particle collider requires a straight line, and even a 0.1 degree bend will have a huge impact. So after calculation, 2,000 kilometers is currently the best length. It seems that everything has returned to the time when Water Blue Star was still there, and the base's orderly operation. On Aquamarine, experiments are going on continuously. But now Aquamarine is gone, Aquamarine has become a rogue planet, and star number 3 is very close at hand. After these days, Alan civilization still hasn't caught up, and it probably won't catch up again. As for Yushan civilization, Zhou Quan is not afraid at all. As long as Yushan civilization has not reached the level of third-level civilization, it will not be able to make any waves. The transformation of the asteroid went very smoothly. It was originally expected to take 100 days, but it took only 86 days to complete. 10 asteroids turned into 10 battle star fortresses. There are 1,000 sets of primary energy shield generators placed on each battle star fortress. The generators are hundreds of meters high, like a spire. It is much larger than the shield generator on the Earth-class battleship, and the coverage area is also much larger. The experiment begins. Zhou Quan led the way, and the 10 battle star fortresses flashed light blue light at the same time. Lightning flashed across it, and Zhou Quan seemed to hear a strong sound of electricity. 2 seconds later, a layer of 28 light blue energy shield was completely activated, and the Battlestar Fortress seemed to be covered with a battle suit. The primary energy shield generator was successfully linked. None failed. Let's start the defense test. The Earth-class battleship flew over, its main guns had been charged long ago, and it began to attack the Battlestar Fortress. This is also a necessary part of testing. Energy cannon attack, nuclear bomb attack, hydrogen bomb attack, all must be tested. No matter what kind of attack, it was perfectly resisted by the energy shield and did not cause any damage to the Battlestar Fortress. This small and inconspicuous energy film has a defensive power that far exceeds that of degenerate materials. After the Earth-class battleship test, it was the turn of the Battlestar Fortress to attack. A huge energy cannon on the Battlestar Fortress opened fire, and a huge beam of energy rushed out from the muzzle and hit the Earth-level battleship. The energy shield has the characteristics of one-way passage. While blocking external forces, it does not hinder the outflow of internal energy. It can even be recharged with excess internal energy. The energy shield generator on the Earth-class battleship is less powerful, and its defense strength is far inferior to that of the Battlestar Fortress. The same goes for the main gun. With just one shot, the energy shield generator on the Earth-class battleship was damaged due to energy overload. Energy shield generators also have limits. With different powers and defenses, the attacks they can withstand are naturally different. After some testing, specific data was quickly obtained. The defense shield strength of Battlestar Fortress is about 100,000. Close black lens bracket. The attack power of the main gun exceeds 70% of the main gun of the Earth-class battleship. Close black lens bracket. With the energy reserve of the Battlestar Fortress itself, it can fight at high intensity for 30 days without interruption. Close black lens bracket. Very powerful. The combat effectiveness of Battlestar Fortress has basically surpassed that of the second-level civilization. If you switch to the patrol civilization, a Battlestar Fortress can defeat the patrol civilization without using energy bombs. The cross-layering of technology is so terrifying. Once it is crushed, it is difficult to resist. Just like the Feiyu fighter of Aoan civilization, if there is no particle collision, it can deal with materials with strong force. Aoan civilization only relied on such a small thing with a length of only 3 meters, which was enough to destroy Joquan's army of 100,000. Set the orbit of the Battlestar Fortress and arrange a defensive circle. Continue to send satellites to explore nearby planets. The satellite following the Yushan civilization once again reported a new situation. Several satellites were destroyed by the battleships of the Yushan civilization. The Yushan civilization seems to have special means to discover satellites hiding in the back radiation of the universe. Joquan sent a total of 300 satellites towards the Yushan civilization. Moreover, these satellites are scattered and very far apart. But in just one day, 281 of the 300 satellites were lost. Only the outermost 19 survived. The final picture transmitted back through the satellite showed that the Yushan civilization had assembled an army and was flying towards them. According to the speed of Yushan civilization, it will reach the vicinity of star number 3 in up to 70 days, and in that time there will be a head-on breakthrough with itself. Joquan thought for a while, send 10 Zon-class battleships to make contact, just as giving them another chance. The Battlestar Fortress is getting ready, there may be another war. Joquan is not afraid of war, but feels that such fighting is meaningless. He neither fights nor robs. With the bioenergy converter in hand, he doesn't have much thirst for resources. For now, it is entirely possible to achieve peaceful coexistence. But he can only guarantee that this is what he thinks. He doesn't know what Yushan civilization thinks. The Zon-class battleship moves forward at a speed of 6,000 kilometers per second, which does not reach the top speed. While moving forward, signals were also sent to the Yushan civilization in the form of common language. A few days later, Joquan's expression changed slightly. The Yushan civilization must have received the signal it sent, but if it didn't respond, what would it mean? Along the way, all the satellites he arranged were cleaned. The Yushan civilization discovered the existence of the satellite through some unknown means, which made Joquan somewhat passive. At the same time, Joquan also felt that the people coming from Yushan civilization were unkind. The battleships of the Yushan civilization are flat oval battleships, which can also be distinguished by their length. The lowest level warships are 500 meters long, their mid-level warships are 1,000 meters long, and high-level warships are 2,000 meters long. Among the teams that came over, there were 10,000 low-level warships, 1,000 mid-level warships, and 100 high-level warships. For Yushan civilization, this is the formation of a legion. Maybe they thought that one army was enough to deal with Zhou Quan. The relative speed between the two sides was very high, and the first contact took place 40 days later. The Zan-class battleship sent 500 messages to Yushan civilization continuously along the way, but never received a response. When the distance between the two sides was 50 million kilometers, Yushan Wenqin suddenly stopped advancing. Seeing this scene, Zhou Quan was stunned for a moment, and his battleship also stopped. He thought that Yushan civilization was going to have a fight with him. Otherwise, why did you send the legion here? Are you here just for fun? What kind of civilization are you? Have you ever registered in the Endless Alliance? The Endless Alliance was mentioned in the database of the Guardian civilization. It is an alliance organization composed of many civilizations in the Endless Galaxy. The Ranger civilization is also a member of the alliance. We are a Chinese civilization and have not yet made a report. Zhou Quan gave his civilization a name. As a Chinese, it is natural that it is Chinese civilization. Regarding Zhou Quan's answer, the other party responded quickly. The 4th Division of the 7th Region of the Endless Galaxy, numbered 0704, is managed by our Yushan civilization. We have the right to inspect, collect statistics, and report on you. Please cooperate. Quote, Yushan civilization's attitude was a bit tough, which made Zhou Quan a little unhappy. Zhou Quan asked, how do you conduct inspections? Open your database, and we will conduct a comprehensive review of you based on your database, scientific research level, development direction, and racial composition. Zhou Quan's expression suddenly changed. Public database, is this possible? What an international joke. Open data means giving all scientific research materials to the other party. This is absolutely impossible. I reject. Zhou Quan refused without even thinking about it. Yushan civilization seems to have expected Zhou Quan's refusal. After all, this request is indeed unreasonable. If it were them, they would also refuse. However, this is the answer they want. If you refuse to inspect, you will be regarded as an enemy of the Alliance and will be hunted by all civilizations in the Alliance. Zhou Quan realized that the essence of Yushan civilization and the Guardian civilization were actually the same. Their purpose is to eliminate and suppress the newly emerging second-level civilization. It's just that the patrolman used a direct attack and no-nonsense method. But Yushan civilization found an excuse for itself. After all, no one would agree to this unreasonable request. The Guardian civilization is a real bully, but the Yushan civilization is like a hypocrite. Relatively speaking, Zhou Quan prefers the civilized and straightforward approach of the patrollers. It seems war is inevitable. Zhou Quan didn't say much. Between civilizations, fists are often the best language. The 10 Zan-class battleships quickly turned around and began to return. At the rear, the army of Yushan civilization started again, rapidly accelerating to a speed of 7,000 kilometers per second. At this time, the Zan-class battleship also accelerated to a speed of 7,000 kilometers per second, consistent with the Yushan civilization. The two sides were 5 million kilometers apart, and it looked like a Zan-class battleship was leading them. Zhou Quan knew that after possessing the energy shield technology, he had already stepped into the threshold of the third-level civilization, and his strength surpassed that of most second-level civilizations. But 10 Zan-class battleships are still not enough. Either don't fight, or if you do fight, you will directly hurt the opponent. The Legion of Yushan civilization, with a total of 11,100 warships of all sizes, cannot even think of leaving. Zhou Quan's army also moved. Because the 10 battle star fortresses have been undergoing renovations recently, the battleship factory has temporarily suspended operations. It currently has 120,000 Earth-class battleships with a length of 1,500 meters, 50,000 Zan-class battleships with a length of 500 meters, and 1 million level 17 Dragon Armor warriors. There are also 10 battle star fortresses transformed from asteroids. Except for the level 17 Dragon Armor Warriors, all of them are equipped with energy shields. Among them, the energy shield of the Battlestar Fortress has the highest defense strength. It is expressed in data, and the Shadow reaches 500,000. The strength of the Earth-class battleship's energy shield is 50,000. The huge gap of more than 10 times cannot be shaken by the main gun of the Earth-class battleship. The Zon-class battleship is the weakest. The strength of the energy shield is only 30,000, which is only slightly stronger than the degenerate armor. After all, the stronger the energy shield, the more energy is required. Due to the size of the Zon-class battleship, it is impossible to have a super-large nuclear fusion facility like the Battlestar Fortress. And according to Zhou Quan's plan, after the emergence of Earth-class battleships, Zon-class battleships are basically available. The current 50,000 Zon-class battleships are the last batch. At this time, 50,000 Zon-class battleships were activated, and 10,000 Earth-class battleships were activated at the same time. A total of 60,000 warships pounced on the Yushan civilization, which was rushing towards them with great momentum. Zhou Quan's battleship army quickly accelerated to a top speed of 8,000 km per second and then stalled simultaneously. The biological part of the battleship adjusted the frequency fluctuation to the same frequency as the cosmic background radiation and entered a state of invisibility. According to the observations of the Yushan civilization, the detection system of the Yushan civilization is very unique. Even if they are in the invisible state, they can still escape their detection. In this aspect, they must completely defeat the patrol civilization. But similarly, their detection range is very short. It can only detect materials within a range of less than 1 million kilometers. After exceeding 1 million kilometers, the detection accuracy will drop significantly, and materials in a stealth state cannot be detected. After analyzing this result, Zhou Quan, who was originally somewhat interested in the Yushan civilization's detection system, suddenly felt uninterested. Such a useless technology is really of little use. 1 million kilometers, on a cosmic scale, is already a close combat distance. The attack range of energy weapons is at least 1 million kilometers. If it is a powerful energy weapon, the attack range can even reach millions or even tens of millions of kilometers. However, it is not very useful. It would be good if it could be used for research and improvement. The 10 Zon-class battleships and the army of Yushan civilization were chasing each other one after another. The speed of the two is almost the same, always maintaining 5 million kilometers. Moreover, under the control of Zhou Quan, the speed of the 10 Zon-class battleships in front is gradually decreasing. 10 days later, the speed was only 599 kilometers per second. It will decline later. Of course, this is for Yushan civilization to see, so that they can have more confidence in their pursuit. On the other side, 60,000 warships have spread out like a fishing net, forming an encirclement spanning millions of kilometers, waiting for the Yushan civilization to fall into the trap. Seeing the speed of the Zon-class battleship slowing down, Yushan civilization pursued it even more eagerly. In their eyes, the Zon-class battleship's speed is only 6,000 kilometers per second. Such an explosion to a speed of 7,000 kilometers per second will definitely not last long. Now it is indeed like this, the speed has begun to decrease. It is also judged from this that the technological level of the so-called Chinese civilization is actually not high. Besides, without the newly promoted second-level civilizations entering the alliance, how advanced can their technology be? The Yushan civilization has a long history. It has been developing in the secondary civilization for thousands of years and has developed to the advanced stage of the secondary civilization. We also have certain prospects for the third-level civilization, and even obtained a lot of scientific research equipment and materials for the third-level civilization from the subordinate Yongolan civilization. We are currently working towards a third-level civilization. It's not easy to deal with the newly promoted second-level civilization. It is precisely with thoughts like this that they don't take Chinese civilization seriously at all. Unknowingly, the two sides had been chasing and escaping for several days. At this time, the distance between the two sides was only 2 million kilometers, Wang Dejiao. In a few days, the Zon-class battleship will enter the attack range of Yushan civilization. But the time will never come these days. Suddenly, a large number of light spots appeared in the detection system of Yushan civilization. There is strong energy feedback from all directions. After the Yashan civilization was completely surrounded, Zhou Quan's 60,000 battleships were fired up one after another, showing their fangs. At this time, the speed of the Tenzan-class battleships that were escaping exploded to 8,000 kilometers per second, quickly widening the distance between them and the Yashan civilization. Facing an enemy several times larger than itself, Yashan civilization panicked. Quote. You are challenging the alliance, and you will be sanctioned by the alliance. Yashan civilization conveys their anger. Sexy and lusty. Strong on the outside but strong on the inside. This is a hypocrite. Now that the decision has been made, there will be no mercy. The encirclement shrank sharply, and the distance between the two sides quickly closed. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.